What is up, Raider Nation? Welcome to the Just Raiders Babies podcast. I'm your host. I'm Jay Raider. And we just got done playing the Steelers, and shit, I don't know what to say. It was a pretty terrible game, but I'm here, and I wanted to go ahead and talk about today's performance. And we all thought, coming into this game that it would be different with AOC starting, and it really didn't prove the case. And it was pretty terrible, football playing today. So, Raiders started off fast. First quarter, we ended up hitting a touchdown. Um, Steelers opened up their drive with the field goal. And so we were up 7-3. And then on the second quarter, they started to catch up. They had another field goal, and it was 7-6 at that point. And thinking, okay, you know what? We might score right before the half. And that didn't happen. They actually scored a touchdown, and they tried to go for a 2-point conversion that didn't happen. So we went into the half 12-7. We're still within range. Obviously, and just like the Bronco game, it was terrible playing. We coughed up the ball, and we had like 2 fumbles and interception with that. First, I'm sorry because I am very upset. Usually, it takes me about a day to kind of process these losses, but I'm pretty disgusted with the gameplay. So I wanted to come on and talk about this. But second half, we had Dylan Lobb had a fumble. I don't know why the fuck we even try to put in the rookie. And AP is over there saying that, that was the whole intention the whole time. For no reason. We have perfectly 2 good backs, and the game is not, out of reach. So no idea why you would put in the rookie. Okay. And then you had Abdullah fumble at the goal line. So those 2 were critical, and AOC saves that touchdown from the Steelers at the goal line by Abdullah. Luckily, he was there because there was nobody else behind him. So, yeah, it was pretty shitty. And then AOC later on, from his own end zone, throws that interception, drives it down to like about the 5, and after that, that was a nail in the coffin. So the final score was 32-13. Pretty awful game, man. There was a lot that happened in this game. I mean, Raiders started off fast, and then after that first quarter, they just fell flat. It was the same type of offense we've been seeing for weeks now. It really didn't change. It really didn't get anything going, couldn't get a momentum going. Though despite they were trying to feed the ball to Brock Bowers, there was really nothing much that was being put together from that. And obviously, you got Luke Getty over here trying to get this run game going when the run game is obviously not working. But still being stubborn where we're trying to push that ball in, and trying to create different plays and really get going. But we're putting 2 to 3 yards together on every run, going for a run on 2nd and 18. I mean, these are the play calls that make you scratch your head, and you're like, what the fuck, what's going on? So the biggest thing also from this game is the refs. There was a lot of questionable penalties, penalties where there was like 2 from roughing the passer on Justin Fields. And looking at these hits, and if go ahead and take a look at the footage yourself, and normally I put on the highlights, but it's not even warranted for this game. But if you go back and look at that footage, the hits were right on time. They were not late. But the NFL created this rule is that when they call roughing the passer, is that they don't want the linemen landing on the quarterbacks, right? So the thing here is, and you have to think about it from their perspective, is if you're a 300-pound lineman going full force trying to attack the offensive player, how are you going to stop on a dime, right? And somehow you're supposed to levitate yourself or not land on them or do some acrobatic type shit so you won't pancake the fuck out of the quarterback. And there was one play, the first one that he called, where he got tripped up by his own guy. I believe it was Butler who got that. I could be wrong, but he ends up being tripped by his own guy and lands on field, and then he got called for roughing the passer. You know what? What is the guy supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, these refs have to use some type of fucking common sense, and if it's an intentional, like where it's an obvious trying to hurt the player and not really play the ball, then for sure call it fairly. And that wasn't being called all game. It was not being called fairly all game. Um, but that's a head scratcher penalty that the NFL came up with. That was called about 2 or 3 times throughout the game. One of them, it did cost us the momentum where the Raider defense was able to go ahead and stop the drive of the Steelers, and they got the roughing the passer call, and then that kept that drive going, and the Steelers ended up ultimately scoring on that drive, and it all was because of these penalties that were called on the Raiders. And the announcers over here trying to, put it on the Raiders, saying like, well, these penalties are killing you. They should know better and all this shit. But honestly, you got to think about it from their perspective. It's just like, how are these guys supposed to stop on a dime? Some hits, some tackles you can avoid, and there are some that you cannot. So we had those. Another one was that literally took away a score was the pass to Abdullah at the flat, and he ended up scoring, but it got called back because Johnson Power, JPJ Jackson Powers Johnson got called for an ineligible man down the field, right? So he moved past the line of scrimmage, and he got called for that. But going on to that replay, and CBS ended up doing the replay, and you see clearly that JPJ did not, cross that line. So, you know, it's just questionable, and even these guys were just like, well, you know, that those are the ones that are kind of hard to explain, right? And because they don't have a fucking answer for it either. And so I believe the refs were they successfully executed a screw job on the Raiders, uh, and there was a lot of plays that could have gone our way. Yes, we did also play shitty and we fucked up and we fumbled the ball and we created turnovers when we said we weren't. But also that happened after these penalties were called as well. So the momentum shifts because of these calls. So it goes hand in hand. A big miscue also by the Raiders. AP not calling a challenge to, I believe, it was Madison's rushing touchdown. I think he got down to the 1 yard line, and he looked in, and that wasn't challenged. So you have that. That was a miscue, and you got to challenge it whether you're gonna think you're gonna win it or not. Those are the situations where you really have to kind of roll the dice on, and they may work in your favor, they may not. Maybe they wouldn't have because the way the refs were calling the game. I mean, he probably would have said the ruling on the field stands, but you got to try at least on our end. but that wasn't the case. So, you know, um, that was a lot of that happened throughout this game. But really, Aiden O'Connell really couldn't get anything going. But there was a lot of three and outs during the game, and it was the same AOC that we've seen before. So now is that from is that him, the player, or is that coming from the offensive coordinator position? Is that Luke Getty? Now that's a question we got to ask ourselves here. Is you know he looks a little bit restricted. I feel that he could have taken more shots down the field, and I think he wanted to take more shots down the field, but for whatever reason, the play calls weren't designed that way. So, uh, and that's something I'll touch into a little bit later. But Aiden O'Connell didn't really perform the way that a lot of people thought he was going to perform. He came out strong, yes, and showed promise and looked smooth. But after that, for whatever reason, it's just we can't find the rhythm. We're not able to get anything going, and it's just like we try to hit all of our points on the first quarter, and then we hope to God that that's enough to win us the game. And like I said yesterday, we got to hit 20 points to at least be able to win and hold these guys to 10 or anywhere within that range. And the game just got away from us at that point. I mean, the defense held as much as they could. There was a lot of good plays by Max, Devon Diablo. He was balling out. Jacorian Bennett had a really solid game, and Paul Mao had a solid game too. But that wasn't enough, and you can't have just the defense try to carry this game alone. You know, it's very hard to win uh, football games with just the defense alone. You have to have some type of offense, and so the Raiders are just not finding any success on the offensive side. So um, definitely something has to change. I mean, there was at the end of the game, there was clear frustration by Maxx Crosby. One of the coaches got shoved. I don't know what was said behind that, but you know, somebody had said, well, we don't blame Max if he wants to leave. Max ain't gonna go nowhere. He is a lifelong Raider. He's been speaking about it openly. The guy has a shield tatted on him, and he said that over and over. He's just pissed. He's frustrated. I mean, anybody would. I mean, these guys went out, defense did try to do their job as best as they could. Obviously, they didn't. They gave up 32 points, but I mean, if you're out for an inordinate amount of time and you're playing to max capacity, eventually something's going to give because there's no help from the offense. So as much as they say, "Hey, you know what? We got your back and we'll take care of it," I mean, the offense has to do their part. There's no way around it. This is the NFL, so that's where that frustration is coming from. He's giving 110%, and there's no return on investment. He might say a couple things today, maybe tomorrow, maybe on his podcast. Don't be surprised, but he's not going to go anywhere. It's not that deep. So just wanted to put that out there for everybody who's like, well, they might Max might want to ask for a trade and all that shit. Not going to happen. He ain't going to go nowhere. So, um, yeah, I mean, pretty. I posted something earlier and I said, I'm gonna just leave this like right here. I'm speechless, and I am speechless because um, we had the opportunity to go 3-3, 3-3 into a Rams, uh, team that's been battling injuries as well, and they have not been performing, and possibility of taking a win there. And now we're having to try to see if we can even salvage this season by picking up a win there, you know. And then after that, we got the Chiefs. You got the Chiefs coming into town, and these guys are so far undefeated. And that's going to be a very tough game to win, and especially how we're playing. And a lot of people are probably going to be saying it's going to be a blowout, and I don't blame them. The way we're performing, how we're playing like shit, of course, who wouldn't disagree with that? So you have them, and then you got Cincinnati Bengals coming in, or we go to Cincinnati, excuse me, and they're not doing too good either. And that's going to be another tough game. That's going to be like another kind of Steeler game. Well, hopefully it's more like a Brown game because this game was just a repeat of the Denver Bronco game. But that's going to be another close game potentially if the Raiders can get it together. So um, that's kind of the lay of the land so far. We're 2-4. Season is not looking good at all. And so we say, where do we go from here? Right? We're 2-4. We have a lot of guys that are banged up or out for the season, right? So we have Wilkins, Marcus Epps, we have Malcolm Kuntz, he's another one. They're out for the season. And then we have Davante Adams and his trade saga, but he's injured, right? So he's not playing. We got Jacoby Myers who are not playing. And hopefully he comes back this next game and he can at least give us a little bit of support. And then, you know, you had a offensive line that's struggling and is banged up a little bit as well. So with terrible play calling. And so let's go into that. Let's talk about, the play calling from Luke Getty. You still have plays that are being called on second and third and forever where we're trying to run draw plays or little swing passes when we should be going at least, you know, taking a shot midfield or, on the underneath or, taking a shot down the field. But we're trying to, make this run game magically appear and or trying to force feed it. And I've said that before, force feed this offense, to open up that run game, and it's not working. I mean, it worked in the first quarter, and we're seeing some success. And like I said, I did say, hey, it looks like we got the run game going. But after that, this is what happens. The opposing teams make adjustments, and then we don't adapt to those adjustments. So we keep running the same fucking shit with no success, right? So we keep doing the same fucking thing over and over and over, expecting different results, and it's just crazy. It's not going to work. And that's where we're failing. Is that teams pick up on our offense and what we're doing, and then they make the necessary adjustments, and then we don't do shit. And that's not how football's played. I mean, this is also a mental sport. So you have to it's strategic. You have to figure out, okay, so these guys just adjusted and these guys are now tightening up their run defense. How are we going to counter that? And so we're not doing that. And that goes back to the offensive coordinator. And that's his job. That's his job to keep the defense guessing, adapt to their adjustments, and make adjustments of their own to continue these drives, make the offense more fluid. But that is not happening, and we're stalling out. We're going 2, 3, 4 3 and outs per drive, and nothing is being put together. So you know and you have head scratcher play calls like the one with Din Lob. You bring the rookie in, you hand him the ball when you're down a score on a tight game that you're trying to gain momentum and salvage your season, and you have no real business putting in the rookie unless the game is out of reach where either we're being blown out or we're blowing out the other team. You put in the rookie and then the rookie fumbles it, right? Why? You have Abdullah, you have Madison, and they're doing good at that point. Why put in the rookie? You'll probably say, okay, well, I'll give you that. Abdullah fumbles later on in that game. Yes, that's correct. He did, and that's a fuck up on his end. You know, but you can mitigate those risks by not putting in the rookie running back. You don't need to put him in. You didn't put him in last game when Zamir was still out, and you had Madison and Abdullah being the backs. You didn't do that. So why do it this game? Those are the type of things that you make cause for him being removed as the offensive coordinator. You have plays where you're trying to do swing passes or screens on you know second and third and forever, where we should be taking shots down the field. I saw the presser right now with Pierce, and one thing the one reporter did say was, you know, do you feel that the offense is being conservative, or do you think it's being aggressive enough? Right? Don't quote me on that. But if a reporter can say, "Hey, the offense is playing conservative," that goes to tell you something, right? Because AP is not doing the play calls offensively. He's not. That's why they brought in Getty. So he's playing scared. He's not willing to really dial it up like consistently and really spread the field and throw the ball down the field as he should. I mean, you have Aidan O'Connell. You made the change with Aidan O'Connell. You didn't like Minshew. You didn't like his interceptions and the style of play, and you really didn't let him run. So you make the change, thinking like, okay, cool. We're gonna bring in the guy that was the quarterback last year, and he's proven. He started. He knows at least the offense and some of the players, right? And yet it's still the same shit. So the buck has to stop somewhere. Obviously, you could say, well, AP should take, ownership for that. I agree. AP should take ownership for that. And he should say that, you know what, the play calling is not what it needs to be. We need to fix that. We need to go back to the drawing board. But that hasn't happened. So, you know, something has to change. And um, it's going to start with the offensive coordinator. It has to start there. You know, we need to move on from Luke Getzey. I know that Davante was a big advocate for him coming down to Vegas, and that's that's another reason why they elected to get him when the Kingsbury deal fell through. Um, and so Davante's not playing, so it really doesn't matter. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Davante's gonna say, "I just want to win," right? So, what difference does it make whether Getsy's there making the play calls or not? The thing is, we need to find some type of consistency with this offense. We need to start putting up points. Period. We're not putting up points. We're not. I believe it's 31 points in the last two games. It's nothing. So something has to change. I hope to see that Getsy gets removed this week. Hopefully by tomorrow or sometime this week. I know a lot of Raider fans are going to be calling for his head. So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of where we're at. I mean, what else is there? What else is there to do? We're at a point where to salvage the season, we have to do something now. That's it. 2-4. You're almost halfway down the season. From here on out, maybe you have 2 to 3 more losses you can give up. And that's if you want to make a run at the playoffs. I honestly see, and I hope we can at least break 500, uh, go 9-8 by the end of the season. I pray that we do. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. And if it doesn't happen, I don't see AP here next year. Bottom line, Davante gets traded. He goes somewhere else. We bring in a new coach, and we have to go through that whole process again. And we try to draft a high end quarterback. You got Saunders out there being named, and that'll be great. But season is still here, and we still have a lot of games still to be played. So the time is now. What is AP gonna do? What is the front office gonna do? I don't see Davante being traded. He's gonna stay with us and probably play out the end of the season, and then he'll be gone after that. So, the trade deadline doesn't come until the beginning of November, I believe, and so yes, there's still a possibility Devontae could be traded, but what what the talk is right now is that there is no real market for Devontae. So he's kind of in a catch 22, so he's stuck. And so um, if I'm Davante Adams, I'm like, okay, I got the I got the quarterback that I've been working with in the off season, and rehabbing because whether he gets straight or not, he has to be healthy, right? If he wants to go into a team, he has to look good. So he has to rehab his hamstring. So I believe he stays with us for the season, and then he leaves next season. Whether he goes somewhere else, I don't know. Excuse me, to what team? I don't know. And that's a question. Obviously you have the Jets, you have the Saints. He still wants to play with Derek Carr, and but you have other contenders out there. Obviously, you have Baltimore. You never know; he could go back to Green Bay. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. So yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about is that these Raider games at Allegiant have been primarily dominated by other teams. And I don't know what the percentage is of actual people from Las Vegas attending these games. But from everything I see on social media, a lot of the Raider fans that are attending these games are from out of town, meaning California, uh, you know, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, all over, right? Primarily from California, though. So it's hard to really, establish a home game when there's a lot of the opposing team's fans and they're taking up more than half of the stadium. Steeler fans that literally took like 60% of the stadium with their terrible towels and shit. And they provide a little bit of impact in that game. Now, AP tried to downplay it, saying, well, we always we practice in the loud field and all this shit. That's cap. But, it's true. It makes a difference. So, I plan to be out in Vegas for one of these games. Obviously, ticket prices are not cheap. And that's another thing that also has to do with it is that these ticket prices are like $300-$400, where I just came from Denver and my tickets were like $150. Yeah, there were nosebleeds, but still, I'm able to attend. I'm not having to, refinance my car to buy a Raider ticket. So, I get it about making money and it's a business at the end of the day for the Raiders. And, that's like a $10 billion stadium. But at the same time, too, it's like if you want your fan base to come out, you can't skyrocket your ticket prices. So, and then you have your season ticket holders that are selling off their tickets to the opposing team. Obviously, we live in a capitalist society. You do whatever the fuck you want, but I mean, keep in mind, if you're a true fan and you're wanting your team to succeed, you know, try to be there for your team, or try to at least resell to the same team. And I know it might be asking for a lot, but I'm not the only person that feels that way. So that's something that was pointed out, been pointed out for a little while now, and actually was actually pointed out on TV by CBS, which was kind of embarrassing. So, um, yeah, I mean, Raider Nation, we got to figure out a way to go out and be enforced at these games. And yes, it would help if they were winning, but you know, right now that is not the case. But you gotta still show up. So like I said, I plan to be out there. Most likely next month. I don't think I'll be able to make it this month unless I win a raffle or something like that. But um, you know, we definitely gotta show out for sure. Um, so one thing I wanted to ask was, you know, with Adams and Myers out, how would the offense look with Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers back in with the hot hand of Brock Bowers? I think if you get rid of Getty and um, you're able to get these guys involved, I believe we can get this offense reignited. I really do. Jacoby Myers' absence was felt today, and we didn't really have that threat downfield. DJ Turner made a good play, and he got kind of hurt on that one. But Brock Bowers had like 10 receptions this game, but he can't do it alone, and they started double teaming him. So we need that extra threat to be out there, and having Myers and Adams out there will definitely open up a lot of those lanes. So I think having them back, and hopefully we get to see Jacoby back next game versus the Rams, and that would help us out a lot. Even if we don't get Davante back, just having Myers back is going to be a great help. But let's talk about next week. So we got the LA Rams playing in LA, and I wish I could be there because I'm from LA. I miss home, and it's a fun game to go to. It's hot as shit though, and I think it's still hot in LA. I gotta ask my fam. But going around this time to November or December, it's not really bad. I don't like SoFi Stadium at all. It's a fucking terrible, terrible stadium, terrible design. They should put some fucking air conditioner on there, but whatever. It is what it is. And you know, we got those guys coming up, and they're 1-4. They're currently in a bye week right now, so we have the possibility of definitely stealing one from them. But we need to get our shit together. Plain and simple. We need to get our shit together, and we have the possibility of going 3-4. 3-4 following week. The Chiefs in Allegiant again, and depending how the Raiders are doing at that point, it could be a very close game. These divisional games are tough. They're a different type of game, but I mean, the Chiefs are firing all cylinders right now. So you know, as much as we can try to get into their heads, at the end of the day, we got to execute. So if we're not executing, we're not you know moving the ball, we're not putting up points, we're not going to beat the Chiefs. That's just a reality. So we can go into LA, win this game, go up 3-4. We play the Chiefs, and we go 3-5, and then we play the Bengals, and we can potentially steal one from the Bengals and go 4-5, and then we're almost at 500 at that point, and it's at mid-season, and so we have a lot of questions, decisions to make at that point. Well, the front office does. So AP, would he stay or would he go at that point? Like I said, I feel like he's gonna stay. He's gonna play out the season, and after that, they're probably gonna reevaluate. And if it's anything below 8 and 9, he's gone. It's hard to say it, but that experiment would fail too. So he is in the hot seat. I don't think potentially in the immediate hot seat right now. Luke Getty is definitely in the hot seat right now because the atrocious play calling is just making this team laughable. And I don't like to talk shit like that, but it's true. So that's my thoughts on this game. I hope the Raiders are able to do something to turn this thing around. The time is now. We can't wait another 2 or 3 games to make a move. It has to be now. So, you know, I want to shout out the Raider Nation for the faithful ones that are disappointed tonight, but are still sticking with it. And the ones that are not, well, it is what it is, and you know, God bless you. That's all I can say about that. But again, thank you guys so much for hopping on and joining me on this podcast. As always, please follow me on my socials on Instagram and X, aka Twitter. My handle is at JRaider_505, JRaider_505. And then, as always, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Help me support this. Uh, you know, I put in a lot of time for this content, and it means a lot when you guys actually, like and subscribe this. But at Just Raiders Baby Podcast, we're on it every week, at least once a week. Um, you know, I put something the other day, yesterday, keys to victory. That didn't work out. We started it, but unfortunately, it didn't pan out at the end. But I try to be on here at least once a week. Um, but yeah, for sure, like and subscribe to this podcast as always. And again, thank you for joining me tonight. And we'll see what happens this week. Stay tuned. Any news that comes on, definitely post that and pass it along. But as always, remember it's Just Raiders, baby.